Welcome to Chaos Conjure,
the podcast where we navigate the complexities of being pagan in an Appalachian mountains.
This is Jay.
This is Dottie.
Fill your sippy cups.
Put on your grippy socks. And grab your magic wands.
Do it.
We're going to do this.
Let's do this.
Happy Black History Month.
Good God. It's not yet. We're filming this way in the past.
In the future.
It'll be released in the future.
It is in the past, yeah.
See, YouTube time is weird.
Yes.
I don't
we are filming this before it airs.
Now I have somebody else to drag into the time warp madness that it is video production.
Yes.
In the future past.
Yes. So, yeah. It will be the past by the time you guys see this.
So wow, happy Black History Month.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so we are going to talk about the things that I face being Black in the pagan community. A little bit about myself, sort of. What I do is a closed practice. I'm very eclectic in what it is that I do, but the majority of what I do is a closed practice.
We forgot to introduce ourselves.
Oh, we did, didn't we?
We did.
See how we just think you know us already?
You should.
Because you should know us already.
I'm Dottie, the psychic.
I'm Jay. I own Autumn Sky. And you should know us already.
Don't worry, you will soon.
So what we're going to talk about on this one is the things that I have seen and dealt with as a Black person in the pagan community.
Right.
Not
the greater pagan community, the West Virginia.
Right.
Charleston,
Just in West Virginia.
Yeah,
just in West Virginia.
You don't realize how how nuclear almost it's cliques.
Yes, very much
groups.
So.
There's the pagan community is not. I want to say amalgamized. That's not the word I really want to look for.
That's a good word though.
Yeah, it's not. That's kind of because we started Metro Valley Pagan Pride to kind of bring all the pagan groups in together,
right? To
kind of break up the weird little culty covens that get set up by the cool mom and the vampires.
Yeah, bless them. But okay, so
I did not mean to talk over you.
It's okay. She's at a loss. This is kind of stuck on me. So where do we start? So born and raised in West Virginia, left, came back, and I love it here. I truly do. But coming back, I wanted to do what it is that I do. I opened a store. It was open for 9-10 months. Some things happened. There was some outside forces. There were some things that happened. Capitalism, we can say that. There were some people who were putting hexes on the store.
Ridiculous rent.
Trying to put hexes on me. It got bad. It got bad. And so for my mental health and their personal safety, I decided to shut this store down. Take that how you will. But yeah, so I opened the store because I wanted a place for people of color specifically, but everyone in general, to be able to find what they needed to do what they do. In West Virginia, there are
a handful.
Many small groups of people who practice whatever it is that they practice. We'll just say there's 100 groups. Out of that 100 groups, there may be 5 that are of color. And those 5 groups are probably just family people, like their families, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people of color don't, what's a good word? Advertise.
Talk about it.
They don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. We don't advertise what it is that we do. We're very, very, very behind closed doors.
I know because if you watch the same shameless self-promotion, then I think we did talk pretty thoroughly about closed practices and how.
Yes.
Because you'd even told a story where people were kind of shocked that you were out as a pagan because it is still very much Christian folklore magic.
Yes, absolutely. So with a closed practice, it is closed more so for personal safety than it is because we don't want to share the information. Sharing that with people knowing what it is you do, you put a target on your back. And most people of color, just most black people are indoctrinated with Christianity. And what happens is, your grandmother, your auntie, your mom even teaches you how to make a tea. Right. Or a poultice or a tincture.
Cough syrup.
Right.
Everybody. Right. That's an Appalachian thing. That is everybody in Appalachia.
Or fire water. Fire water.
Fire cider.
The fire cider is something that that a lot of people drink in Appalachia, up and down, and it keeps you from getting sick.
Hot toddy.
It tastes disgusting if it's done right. Okay.
Yeah,
it's
like
disgusting
a proper
if it's done right.
household cure. You are not going to want to take it.
The recipe that I have for that is a closed thing because I can't share it because of the way it was taught to me.
Right. This like grandma's recipe. You take that shit. You take that shit.
Right. Nobody's ever going to make a cake like grandma. I don't care how you fix it, what you do. Nobody's going to make a cake like grandma because it was grandma's, and grandma put certain things in there.
Unless grandma told you how, you did not know how.
Exactly.
It ain't the same.
And she may have told you one recipe, and your cousin sitting right beside of you a different one. And that's part of what happens in closed practices. I don't know if my family practices. I don't know. I call myself a crafter, spellcraft, like actual craft. I make bracelets, necklaces, things like that. I don't know if anybody else in my family does what I do. I would love to find out, but I'm also not going to ask them because I'm not going to ask. But yeah, closed practices, there's a lot of things that you do in a closed practice that other open practices do. You just don't talk about it.
Right.
Because sometimes,
so I know I'm going to kind of shift the focus here because ADHD.
Absolutely.
But because we wanted to talk about because in the pagan community, what is the community? Essentially, the people who are kind of banding together, because you're never going to know how many pagans are up in the mountains.
Right.
You're never going to know.
Right.
Because, like you said, there's a lot of people who do what they do and they keep their mouth shut.
Absolutely.
Long storied tradition of not talking.
It's really funny because they're very closed, open practices.
Yeah.
Very closed, open practices.
A lot of we don't talk about. A whole lot of we don't talk about.
Right. Okay.
But I wanted to bring up was because it is predominantly white. I think we've got a couple of other people in the community that are of color, and we have quite a few trans people in the kindred, in the community. But specifically, they do seem to just because the heathen structure is interesting. But I know that one time.
There are groups out there that are very all-inclusive. Very, very, very all-inclusive. And kudos to those groups.
Right.
But unfortunately, there are groups that are not.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they fly on the same damn flag sometimes.
Right, exactly. So being a, how do I even start this? Being a black pagan Let's start with that. And pagan is a very loose term.
Right.
So being a black pagan,
like saying witch.
Right. Being
it's
a
not
black,
the same, but it's
right. Being a black pagan, it's really hard. It has been really hard for me to be out in the open, and I don't want to live my life hiding. You know, what I do is what I do, but I want to be seen. I want to see more of us.
Changing the person's name, obviously. I want to tell a story here. I know I'm kind of interrupting. I wanted to tell a story here about the first time that I took you, because I dragged you out. I know that because I was trying to, I'm a community builder. I'm like, come with me.
Yes, and I drugged someone else with
and
me.
You drug a friend. We'll call her Anna.
Okay, we will call her Anna.
So I didn't realize until you told me much later that when you all had come in, everybody had stopped and looked at you, and that Anna had actually gone off and cried because she felt scared. And because if I had known, I don't know what I would have done, because I was trying to and I don't know, here's the thing I don't know either, is I don't know if the whole room turned because they'd never met you before.
Or if it was because we were the two black people in a room with 30 white people.
Right. And it's hard to tell because a lot of those community members already knew each other.
Right. So in that specific instance, one, Anna said she was not going back anymore with me.
I know, and that breaks my heart because I want you to make it inclusive.
But she also knew that that if she was going somewhere with me, she was safe. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it did shake her. It did make me take a step back and put up more of an armor than what I truly should have had on. You know?
I mean, I can't blame you if everybody looked at everybody.
But yeah, we walked in and there were a few people that I had met previously, just out. You know, they had stopped by the store or what have you. But we'll say there were 30 people in there, and I probably knew 5 outside of the you and the 2 white people that we were with. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And of course Anna. But it was like walking into if you can feel energy, it's kind of like a buffer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so when you walk into that buffer, like you hit something. Yeah. And we walked in, and she walked in before I did.
Right.
And she hit that buffer, and she's sensitive, but she's not super sensitive.
She's also not
and she's not a worker. Right. She's not one of us. You feel me? She's very much not one of us. That's the only way I can describe it. She's learning. She's intuitive, but she's learning. She's not really good.
Educated.
Right. She's not as
experienced with herself. Yes. Experienced.
So
little inexperienced.
Yes.
Which honestly, like the first few energy issues I've ever had, like, you know, you think those first few getting into energy work, those first few moments where you just but you don't know enough.
Right. You don't know enough to actually be scared.
Right.
Or you know enough to be terrified. Right. Like it's one extreme or the other with that. So anyway, so we walked in and it hit her. I don't feel other people's energy as much because I am an energy generator. So for me to feel your energy, you have to hit me with something really hard. And I felt that bubble. Yeah. Like I felt the buffer. And so I was like, shit, I felt that.
So I didn't, because it was
feel, the thing about it though, honestly, it didn't feel malicious. You know what I'm saying? It didn't feel malicious.
Right.
But it was very much, what are you doing here?
Right. Who are you?
You know, who are you and what are you doing here? Right. It was very much a feeling of you don't belong. And it was sad. It was sad. Right. But me being the me that I am, I stayed. You know, we stayed. And
So I thought, because I'm watching this from the outside, I thought you guys were having fun. If I'd have known.
I told her flat out that if she wanted me to, I would pull her into my bubble.
Right.
And I promised her that nobody was going to do anything or say anything to her.
Right.
And so it made it look like literally no one spoke to her because she was terrified. And I made it a point energetically, don't speak to her.
Right.
Just leave her alone. Don't speak to her. I spoke to everybody. I shook hands. I bumped into people, all of that. I was up in everybody's face. And
I brought you there to advertise. I kind of brought, because everybody was asking about all the stuff.
Yeah, people showed up in the store. But I'm used to that.
I didn't know.
I'm used to that.
Anna,
bless her heart,
I feel so guilty.
It was not.
I feel guilty for that.
But don't. Because I explained to her from get that if she wanted to be a part of the community, she was going to walk into places that were not going to be set up to accommodate us.
Right.
Flat out.
Because you don't know what you don't know.
Right. And normally what ends up happening is, excuse me, as a Black person, I have walked into the room full of Norse pagans, full of Hellenistic pagans like the Greeks.
Right.
Even mountain magic.
Yeah.
Appalachian mountain magic. Walked into these rooms and immediately I get looked at funny. Because as a Black person, when you say, oh yeah, I practice, the first thing they say, oh, so you do voodoo.
Yeah.
I do not practice voodoo. Okay? I know this much about it, literally that much about it.
You know, the documentary series that they put out on.
And you know what? I've watched probably about 10 of those. and don't ask me any questions because I'm just going to lie and pretend like I know something just to make you leave me alone. I'm going to scare you and me in the process. I do not practice that. But people, when a lot of pagans and non-pagans see a Black person and we say, oh yeah, we practice, they immediately assume that that's what we do.
Right.
And that's not the only practice that's out there.
Right.
You know,
so I think it's kind of like, because it's exotic.
Because
it's exotic. They think of it as being exotic.
It's been fetishized.
Fetishized. That's the word. Fetishized.
I have a list for you guys. You're going to hear it a lot. It's fetishized so much.
Brain injury, I think. Not gonna lie, like the COVID, I got the COVID, and that language center was already a little scrambled. It did not help.
Right, but yeah, so it's been so fetishized that people just assume that that's what you do. Like, there are Black witches. I do not call myself a witch. Sometimes I do, depending on what it is I'm doing and who I'm talking to. But I don't. I either refer to myself as a conjure folk, or a crafter. I refer to myself as a crafter quite often.
I think we both kind of use the word practitioner.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Practitioner is a good word too. But yeah, when somebody's like, "Oh yeah, what do you do?" "Oh, I'm a crafter. I am a crafter."
Right. Or usually if we're talking about somebody else, like, are they practicing? Right. Do they
practice crafts too? But yeah, so it's really odd to walk into these places where it's a predominantly white place, and they are not prepared for the most part for you to tell them, oh yeah, I know who Aphrodite is, versus I know who Venus is, versus I know who Frey is. These things that
they're not ready to find out that you're practicing.
Right, that I'm practicing something else besides voodoo, and I do that with the quotes, only because I'm not going there. Voodoo is a religion, and I'm not good with religions. I'm not good with that structure. But
neither am I.
Facts.
You know, I do want to like. Do you remember? This is kind of funny because this is the kind of So we were talking about this a little bit before we came on camera. How by virtue of not being able to perceive reality from somebody else's perspective, I still sometimes do some dumb white shit.
Yes.
And I had kind of gone through. I came off mountain in rural West Virginia, and I don't. Yeah, I'm not explaining that. That's a whole episode. We're not getting into it.
We'll go there some other day.
Essentially, I have done a lot of deconstructing of, you know, ideas and thoughts and things by virtue of YouTube. So sometimes I think like I once said, like you're my second black friend.
Right.
You know, you're my second black friend.
Right. And I take that very, very seriously.
Right. Like you get to be my white woman whisperer.
I'm with it.
So, and I realized I knew I was being tested to see if I was actually worth whispering to. The day that you did your grand opening, I had my card table out there and I'm reading. I'm like, okay, so we start this close up shop, and you come over and sit your elbows on my table, and then Jenny comes over, and so you make sure somebody's sitting at my table so I can't break it down. And I didn't have the guts to say something like, because you were like, you're getting ready to do a full moon ritual. I'm like, I'm not really.
Yeah, and I wouldn't let her leave.
She wouldn't let me leave.
She was.
I was squirming a little bit, but not gonna lie.
She was everything but illegally kidnapped, because we don't do that.
So I'm not leaving without my table, because that's money.
Right.
You know, that's something I can't afford to just replace. And I'm certainly not gonna be like, oh, bye, I'll be back for it later. I'm like, okay.
And then she was
and I kind of wanted to be there for a full moon ritual.
And you were totally shocked by that.
That was the first time in my life where I was
the only white person in the room.
The only white person in the room.
Because you were the only white person in the room. And the people that we had online were also black people.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's like 5 other women there. And so I remember at one point, we'll call her Shelly.
Yes. Okay. We'll call her Shelly.
Sorry, we're changing your names. If you recognize who you are, that's why we're
changing names. So, so Shelly made the comment about Dottie being a white woman in a black space at that particular moment. And
I'm sitting like this, like I am aware of.
I felt the fear roll off of you, and I tried my best to push calm and all of that back.
Well, no, I mean, I didn't expect you to. Like, it was your space.
Right.
I felt like I was invading.
But you were not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that is how I feel when I go some places, yes.
Right.
But I don't remember exactly what the comment was.
I think I had said something regarding the rate of arrests.
Yes, yeah, it was a political comment that was actually true. But Shelly took offense at it coming from a white woman. And so we de-escalated the situation immediately. There was no violence involved. There was no threat of violence or anything like that. The words actually weren't even all that violent. It just came off really quick and off the cuff. It was emotional.
Right. It was something like, well, since you brought it up.
Right. But it was a scary moment. I know that was a scary moment for you, and I do apologize for that.
No, don't. I didn't mind. Like, I walked in to help with like the grand opening.
Right,
I wanted
and
to
you were in a
support
safe
for that
place because
like,
no offense.
I didn't think you were.
No offense to you or to Shelly. There would have been no violence in there unless it was perpetrated by me.
That's
you know
fair
what
enough.
I'm saying?
Like I certainly was, but no. I mean, I understood why.
Right.
Like I understood why she was
right,
upset,
and so
but
that is. Because as Black people, we do a lot of closed practice things. And in her mind, we should have been having a closed practice situation.
It was funny though, because after that it seemed like she really opened up because we were talking about different.
Yeah, because I explained to her that there are some things that you do, having come off the mountain, literally, and that's what I told her.
Right.
Having come off the mountain, there are things that you do that are very similar to the things that we do. And if she would just open her eyes, she would see some of these things.
Right.
And she chose to open her eyes, and she's much better for it. You're much better for it. Not that there's anything wrong with either one of them before.
It wasn't. It was an enlightening experience.
But it was an enlightening experience.
And it was 5 other women versus like a room of 30.
Correct. But yeah, so we it's hard to walk into a place and choose to take part in community.
Right.
When, like I said, I can walk into a room and how do I even put this in a way that I can?
You can't hide.
One
you can't hide what makes you.
I am instantly noticeable.
Like as a pagan, you can kind of hide.
Right. You can walk into a room.
You can tuck your pentagram in your shirt and keep your mouth shut.
I don't have that. I don't get to hide like that.
Right.
1, because the store wouldn't let me.
Right.
And 2, because not to sound cocky, because that's not how I mean it, but look at me. If you see me, like right now, and you see me at a pagan gathering, if you see me out on the street, you're going to remember.
Right. Because you are told.
I don't fit into the, I don't want to say that pagans look the same. That is not what I'm trying to say. But I stand out.
We're a predominantly white community because we're in West Virginia and the population is predominantly white.
So if you see me at a pagan event and you see me on the street, you're probably going to remember me because I stood out at the pagan event.
Right. And not only that, but you are actually like physically taller as well.
I'm not that tall. I'm only 5'7". I just have long legs, y'all.
5'7". Well, that's
a
tall
lot.
for a woman. That is the average height of a woman is like 5'2", 5'3".
Oh, wow. Short people. Okay, anyway, we slid off track a little bit. But yeah, so it's really intimidating to walk into a room full of white people because the first thing they do, like I said, is assume that I practice, voodoo.
Right.
When they find out that I do know more about their gods than they do about mine, their deities, and who they work with than they do about mine, then some of them are really quick to whitewash me. I know about the Greek gods and goddesses because of my name. My name is a Latina name. My name is Jacinta. I go by Jay because most people can't pronounce it.
It took me a few times, I'm not going to lie, because there was a few times you corrected me.
But there's like this whole Greek mythos behind my name, and the hyacinth flower and like all that sort of thing. And it goes back to Apollo. So this is how I found out who the Greek gods were.
Right.
When I was younger. And because I read a lot, I went from the Greek gods to the Roman gods.
Right.
Then I went to the Celtic
literature.
gods. Right. Then I went to the Celtic gods. Then I went to the Norse gods. And then I brought my little happy self back home and started doing the indigenous ones, the Aboriginal ones for the United States, the Native American ones. I started doing some in South America. But at the same time, I'm also deep in my African gods and goddesses.
Right.
Everybody talks about the ones from Egypt, the Kemetic deities, but they don't talk about the ones from Benin.
I think that's funny because I don't think a whole lot of people realize that, like we talk about Egyptian gods, but I don't know if a whole lot of people understand like Kemetic structure. We pick
so the Egyptian
bit
gods,
from
right?
Egyptian
The Egyptian gods and goddesses Egypt used to be called Kemet. So that's where the Kemetic structure, Kemetic deities, because I can't speak today.
Okay, Hermetic's totally different.
Yeah, Hermetic is Hermes.
Yeah.
But a lot of people know who, what is it? Yeah, I'm not even going to go there. We're not even going to go there. But they automatically, they're like, oh yeah, Osiris and Isis and Anubis, and they start naming off these Kemetic gods and goddesses. And so they assume that's where I'm at. You know, so it's either I'm practicing voodoo,
right,
or I'm dealing with the Kemetic gods and goddesses. And don't misunderstand, I actually do. I work with Tueret, but she's very lesser known. Now that Moon Knight
fierce
came out,
mothers, like
so now that Moon Knight came out, then more people know who she is. But they kind of, well, they actually gave her a good. I'm not gonna say that they gave her a really good representation. But
that is such a crapshoot.
Yeah, they actually did. They gave her a good representation as Mistress of the West. They talked about her ferrying the dead over to Duat. Right. They didn't talk about the fact that she brings life in. She is the epitome, the embodiment of, I brought you into this world and I will take you out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But yeah, so it's really hard to walk into a place that's full of people that don't look like you, when you know that there are people out there that look like you, that do what you do, or at least something super similar.
Right.
They're just not out loud.
Right.
They do what they do behind closed doors. I have walked into spaces with friends that I walked in and there were racist people there. Left immediately. I've walked into places where I was invited to places and walked in and it's not that they were racist, they were just not very understanding that they didn't understand why there was a Black woman in the room. And that's a horrible thing because, yeah, we practice too,
Right.
I went to a gathering. We won't name the place, but I went to a gathering.
As long as it's not one of mine.
No, well, kind of no, but no. I was invited to go somewhere by someone that is a good friend of mine now. And a lot of them are good friends of mine now. But when I first got in the car, heading to this gathering, my first thought, mind you, I could trust the person I'm sitting in the car with, but my first thought when we turned was, oh, holy goodness, they're going to take me up the holler and I'm not coming back out.
Jesus.
And it's sad.
That is sad. But, well, I remember when
the only place that that Black people who practice like hoodoo and things like that gather is at church, is inside of a church, and they go to church. That's really the only time that you will see them all in, see a lot of them in one place, outside of home.
Right.
And it's scary. It's scary. I was so scared when I had this store, because I didn't know if I had people come in the store, and I said this, I think, on the other.
And we talked about how there was a lot of people coming to the back door, and there was a lot there was a lot of people who were unhoused locally
around my area.
Yeah.
But some of the people that were coming to the back door were customers that didn't want to be seen.
I remember one time I walked through your house, you're like, Dottie, look at this shit somebody did to my door.
Yeah.
We went back there. Somebody
had wrote something on the door.
It was some sort of sigil. It was not like words.
Right. But
and left shit.
Yeah, literally. But there were a lot of people of color that would call and ask how many people were in the store at that particular moment. Ask me to open up early, ask me to close late, because they didn't want anyone else to see them come in.
Yeah.
I had a couple come in, a mixed race couple come in, and he was white, she was black, and he was so excited to be in the store. I said this before.
Right.
He was so excited to be in the store, and she came in and she was excited, but she's looking around and she's gathering stuff, and she comes over and she looks at me and she goes, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Black people don't do this." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she says, "Black people don't do this. We go to church." And to a degree, I understood that because practicing hoodoo is something that is done in churches, in the Baptist church. You know, the mother of the church.
Because that's the cover.
That's the cover, right? That's the cover.
And also like, because I do know some folk practitioners who are like Christian witches, where it really is still part of their practice.
Right, absolutely. And so, she was like, white people, black people go to church. And I was just like, but black people do this too. And she was like, "No, we don't do this. We do not." And she was so very, very adamant that I was in the wrong. And that's what we are, as black people, are taught to believe. Like, you go to church. These are not things that you talk about out loud. You don't show the white people that you know how to do these things. You don't go into these white spaces. And to a certain degree, yeah, I get that. Like the things that I do that are closed practices, I don't share those things. I don't share those. But there's a whole community,
Right.
And this is in West Virginia, because there are communities in other places. When I was in Atlanta, there were other black people that I would commune with. And they were, each one of us did something a little different than the next one. Here in West Virginia, the groups are Appalachian magic,
Right.
like Appalachian mountain magic, or Norse, or Celtic, or
Yeah, we've
Greek.
got like a Celtic. Yeah, we do have some eclectic groups, but
right. But the predominant groups in West Virginia are, this is what we do as a group. This is what we follow. We follow this particular way as a group. Like everybody, even if it's different deities.
It is kind of funny.
They have a
like
base.
They do have groups.
They have a base.
That come together.
Right, but they have a base. This is how we call circle. This is how we put up our protective circle, and it sounds almost word for word.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? In all of like in these different groups.
Yeah, we set the circle and call the corners.
Right, and see, I don't do that.
Right.
I mean, I do set circle and I do call corners. I guess you could call that. Right. I call elements. I don't.
Right.
Call
well,
corners.
you've been in public ritual with us, like, and
Right.
I don't do a lot of that when I'm doing my private practice either.
But I call elements.
Right.
I don't call corners. I don't call like northwest. I don't call directions.
Right.
And
do the elemental associate, directional.
even though that happens, but I still call element. I don't do.
Right, and I know that there are pagans out there just probably screaming about like the terminology, but you know what I mean.
Facts. But yeah, so when I walk into a predominantly white space, they're like, okay, everybody's going to face this way, and we're going to call, we're all going to face north, and we're going to start calling circle, and we're going to start with the north. And I'm like, okay, hold on, wait a minute. And I have to find my bearings.
You know what that makes sense?
And so it makes it really hard for me. Like I don't feel comfortable calling circle in public. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I will not, as a black woman, as me, as outspoken as I can be, as loud as I can be.
Right.
I will not
lead a public ritual.
I could not. I could not.
You know, that's
because
fair.
What I do is different enough from what everyone else does. And then it puts me in a small circle. Like
right.
It's just me. And I did.
So I know you've participated in them.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
A lot of fun. Solstice was a lot of fun. Yeah. We got to go and do an overnight.
Yes, that was fun. Right. But there are practices that white people will do. that Black people will not. You know what I'm saying?
I feel very pet that dog energy, because like I want to be the one like.
But and this is the thing. So one of the things, this is so funny that you say that too.
Right.
This is one of those things that me and Dottie have talked about.
That white girl will pet that dog. That's
numerous
how I'm
occasions.
die.
So
I know it.
I'm not offended when she says things like that. Let's get that out in the open. And if you're offended, then kick rocks, because I don't care. This is my friend. She's my sister. And she's learning. What? When I said kick rocks?
No, you said I was your sister. Like, like my friend. I
But
because you told me one time I loved you, and at that moment I was like, and we're friends. I will do
absolutely.
anything for you.
And so what it is, and I've said this before, and I've said this on numerous occasions. Dottie's very outspoken. She's very much, I want to do more for my community, more for my people, whichever group of people that happens to be at that moment that needs her to lead or step forward or what have you. And she has these moments where she goes to take a step back, and I push her forward. Not necessarily push her forward, but I give her the strength to go, to continue going forward.
Right, yeah, well, you know what, I'm going to have you there. I'll be pretty honest, I'm probably going to have you there when I go to edit this. Because
that's fine.
Not because I don't want to ever deaden somebody else's voice, but I would be afraid that, I'm afraid of what I'm saying being misconstrued.
Right, okay, and so one of the things that, like I said, I push her forward, and what she does for me is, reminds me that I don't have to be the loud voice in the room.
I will gladly get that dog for you.
Yeah, and I love you for that. I don't like being loud. I don't like being the center of attention. And Dottie thrives in that space. And so I'm very much willing to always be like, go ahead, Dottie. You go ahead and do that. Like, I'll just give you
remember the Ouija board. Oh my God,
yes.
we were to the solstice. I gotta tell you, like this. So we were at a solstice gathering. It was an overnight gathering, and we decided that we're gonna do a spirit board.
Is the Ouija board, because for me, in the way I was taught,
Ouija board is a brand name.
A Ouija board. It's a brand name. It is a brand name. But a Ouija board
know what it is.
Is one thing, because you instantly know what that is. But I was taught that a spirit board is not a Ouija board. It's something different. Right. A spirit board is something like I use my pendulums on, or something like that.
It's funny because the difference is using a planchette and using a pendulum.
Right.
But
they were playing with a planchette.
And then we were playing with that. We were starting,
hey, how are you? What's up?
The board.
Talk to me type of thing.
She's over there. You're giving us the stink eye.
And I sat over there.
The whole time.
They sat over there before they even.
Jewelry.
Look, and this is the difference between Black people and white people.
Right. Okay. No, it gets better.
Hold on. No.
Okay.
They were over there with this Ouija board, okay? She can call it a spirit board all she wants to. They were over there with this board and this planchette, okay?
Being stupid.
They had already started asking questions. Who's here? Is there anyone here? Nobody thought to put a protection barrier up.
We were in a sanctuary.
I don't care where we were. We were in the church, so I do understand a little bit. But the minute they said they were bringing this thing out there, I'm over there like, okay, let me talk to my people. I'm calling my ancestors. I'm putting up my protection circle.
Experienced
the whole nine.
And
everybody in there is experienced, and that's true.
Which is good, because we did start to get answers. If we've been high schoolers, we probably
But I'm over here. I done put my whole little protective barrier up on my little sleeping area, because I trust none of that.
Right.
And they're over there, hee. And I'm at a point where I've got a headset on, and I'm like focused on what I'm doing. And they're over there asking questions. And then one of them goes, do you think we should have put up a circle?
It's kind of a little late now.
I spit soda out. I went, spit soda. And so there, I don't know which one of them was, because I did not look up. Called circle real quick, like done a real quick protection circle.
Right.
And they started getting answers before the circle went up. And so I'm just over there going, the whole time. We are like 20 feet apart. and we're in sanctuary in a church, and I'm over there like, no, because Black people don't do that.
Oh, it gets funnier. It gets funnier. So we decided we went from the Ouija board to light as a feather, stiff as a board.
Yes.
And that we tried on a couple different people. I tried on it, and they were starting to lift me from one side, but the other side didn't have this like the oomph.
Yeah.
And so when they dropped me, the lady behind me says, "All right, I'm done doing dumb white shit."
Yes, yes, because we don't do that. We don't do that. We don't do that. But and we're off on a tangent. We're off on a tangent, and I know this is like
this could be our special episode if we go for 2 hours.
But we're supposed to be talking about Black history and my navigating paganism in West Virginia. But this is what it is. You know what I'm saying? How do I even say this? Okay. So if I'm the captain of my ship, right? And my ship is in the sea of paganism, Dottie is truly my navigator.
Oh, we're so screwed.
And we are. We are. But
don't ask me to be the voice of reason. That's a bad idea.
We've got this. But yeah, so
go bring something, I guess.
Dottie jumps in, and I don't know if you realize this or not, you jump in and protect me from all the questions that I know are coming. You know what I'm saying? I have, even in the store, when I had the store open, even in the store, I had
so many fucking, okay, so I want to put this in perspective, because we want to talk about the witch wars. That's a whole nother episode.
Right, we'll do that. That's a different thing. But we had, I had things for anybody and everybody, right? And I had some things in the back room that were not for anybody and everybody.
I think every shop should have a back room.
Absolutely. But I had people coming in and asking me questions about different pantheons, pantheons, y'all.
Yes.
Because I'm from West Virginia.
Parthenon is
the place. Parthenon is a place.
Yeah, Parthenon is it's an actual place. But Pantheon is
the group.
Right. You have Hellenistic Pantheon, you have Nordic Pantheons, you have a personal Pantheon.
So I have people come in and they would ask me different questions about different pantheons, different deities specifically. And I would answer to the best of my knowledge, and then I would go find the information. And I would have people come in, when they would come in and they would say, "Oh, this is your store?" And I'm like, yeah, it's my store. And then, like, my face wasn't in the logo, right, on the window. But they would come in, right. But they would come in and they would say, what was it that one lady said?
Put a picture of the logo right here so you all understand. Like, if you look at the banner art for this channel,
you'll see my logo.
Right.
But, and that is me. But anyway, so I had someone come in and she asked me a question about, I don't know, I think it was like Hades and Persephone or something.
There is not a single relationship in the Hellenistic pantheon that is not problematic.
Correct. But yeah, something like that. And so I was answering her questions with the knowledge that I have. And it's not a lot. I'm not going to act like I know a lot. But I was answering the questions, to the best of my ability. And I was like, I have a friend that can answer more questions for you. But she looked at me and she was like, "You know all of that?" And I was just like, "Yeah." And I'm like, I don't understand why that's, why you don't understand, that I know something, why that's surprising.
Right.
And she looks at me and she says, "But you're Black." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "But you're Black." She's like, "The only gods that the Blacks have." And I was just sitting there like,
do I know this bitch?
No.
Okay.
But I was just like, oh, so the Blacks only have certain gods. And that's a lot, unfortunately, that's what a lot of people believe,
Right.
I have had conversations with Hell. Hella, I don't know.
I think it's Hell. Hail?
It's
sometimes Hail.
Yeah, it's Hell.
So
she is
the goddess of the underworld
in the Nordic pantheon. Right. So she
I'm
was
sorry.
Odin's daughter.
No, Loki's.
No, Loki's daughter.
Loki.
She was Loki's daughter. Marvel says that she's Odin's daughter, but she was Loki's daughter.
Now, Marvel gets a lot of
They get a lot
wrong.
of shit wrong.
I'm not.
But
not the conversation.
right, not today. A whole different video. But so she was is the goddess of death.
I do like Marvel.
And Hell, technically, like the place was named after her because it was her domain. Like that's the way that mythos goes. She and I have had some conversations. I speak with a lot of the death underworld.
Yeah, a lot of
folks.
Crossroads.
Yeah,
it's
the crossroads
funny.
type of things.
So we talk about not appropriate, because you said because I know people are always kind of, I get solid side eye when I tell people.
Okay, we'll come back to that. But so anyway, so she tells me, she looks at me, she's like, well, how do you know about her? And I'm like, because I've talked to her. And she's like, she talked to you? And I'm like, yeah. So one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is that the deities, the beings, the entities, whatever you want to call them, will speak to whoever it is that they choose to speak to. I don't recommend you going out there and calling on these people without researching first. You know what I'm saying? And don't call on someone that's in a closed practice because it never really goes well for people. But if they want to speak to you, they're going to speak to you. It's just like people out on the street or in a crowd. If someone sees you and they want to speak to you, they're going to speak to you. It's your option whether or not you speak back.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you want to have that conversation, when they speak to you, you speak back. But that happens a lot in West Virginia, that they just assume you can't speak to what they consider a white mythos, deity, or whatever you want to call it. So when they do find out,
I do not know who they are.
So when they do find out that I know some of the things that I know, then yeah, they're like, oh wow, but a white person told you that, right? And I'm like, no. And I get that a lot.
This really fucking happened.
Yeah,
I believe you. I'm sorry.
It gets bad, and so there's a lot of times when I go into a white space where, and you've seen me do it in the beginning. I walk into a space where there's a lot of white people, and I just won't say shit to anybody.
Yeah.
And I will fill the room, and I will wait until someone speaks to me, and then I will speak back to them. And I don't bring up that I do deal with a Kemetic god. I don't bring up that I do deal with hell, that I do deal with, Anubis. I don't bring any of that up.
That is a deeply personal conversation that they shouldn't just be coming up.
It is. But it is amazing
this
how
feels like the hair thing.
We won't go into that. That's a whole nother thing. But I have walked into spaces.
I did not know. I was unaware.
I have walked into spaces where
I'm sorry.
I have been bombarded with questions on what it is that I do. And then they're like, but you can tell me, I won't tell anybody.
I knew that.
You can tell me, but I won't tell. And I'm like, yeah, no, I can't talk to you about that at all. And then they get upset because I'm not sharing secrets.
Because they think you're special.
And I'm fetishized because of it. And sometimes it's fun, but then sometimes it's not. What I didn't tell you, so when I first got back, and we were at the store that we don't name.
Either I should have been.
When I first got back, and we were at the store that will not be named, I had at Voldemort. I had a person come in.
Said person dropped my name the other day.
I'm sure. I had a person come in, and I'm real big on crystals. I said this before. I make bracelets, necklaces, that sort of thing. Hit me up. We were having a conversation. I'd done a tarot card reading, and the tarot card reading was
You tell them how to live their life.
It was a gentleman.
People love it when you tell them how to live their life.
I have to explain this. So it was a gentleman.
Oh, I remember this because she lost her shit.
Hold on. Because it was something, several times this person lost their shit. But so in this one, so I did this reading.
To be fair.
And so this person was like, oh. And I was like, yeah, so, this particular deity is trying to talk to you. You might want to, say hello.
Right.
And they were like, how did you know that? And I'm like, well, the cards kind of told me.
They're standing right there. They're standing right there trying to get your attention.
Right. And so I'm like, this is what it is. And so they were like, so what are you doing later? And I'm like, what do you mean? So they literally, no shit, invited me to a full moon
Get together.
Thing. They called it something, I don't remember what they called it.
Gathering?
No, he had a name for it.
Oh. Was it a particular tradition?
Hold on. So he's trying to explain to me that he is Wiccan.
Oh, God. Oh,
and I'm okay with you being Wiccan. Okay, nothing against Wiccans. But again, Wicca is a religion that I can't do it. I'm not good with the religions. He wanted me to witness the communion, the something or other he called it.
I remember you telling me the story before, and I'm pretty sure that was not actually Wicca, whatever the fuck.
Right.
Because we got a lot of cosplayers.
Yeah.
There's an epidemic of fucking cosplayers.
Yes. Okay. So anyway, this one guy.
It'd be easier to go and learn this shit.
This one guy was like, yeah, come and do this thing with us, right? And so I was like, okay, but what is it? And he's like, oh yeah, it's the Great Mother and the Horned God. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that everything I know about the Great Mother and the Horned God
do
is
the great
sex.
rites.
Yeah, that. But he called it something different. And I'm like, that's great right is what I couldn't come up with. And I was just like, oh, okay, I kind of know what that is. So I get out, not quite to a field. It was literally in somebody's backyard.
That sounds
just outside of Charleston.
Of course. Because that's where the shit happens.
Because that's where we are. We're in Charleston, West Virginia.
That's where it happens.
So we're in someone's backyard, in a fenced-in backyard, like a high, privacy fence that really could have been like 2 feet higher.
Look, those neighbors those neighbors are just
there are
looking the other
like
way.
15 white people out here, okay? And they had decided I was going to play the part of the goddess.
What? First time out there?
First time out there, first time meeting this group of people. I had met this man like doing his reading and then like a couple of times, before and after.
You know what though? That's not necessarily a black thing because I have seen them do that just like, that's how they suck people in. It's that love bombing bullshit.
Right, this is the thing. But he didn't love bomb me. Like this dude, different person. I know what you're talking about, different person. But that happened in Georgia. But I'm sitting there like, what the hell? Because he was like, wear a dress, we're going to eat, da, da, da. So I'm like, let's wear a dress. It's summertime. And I get out there, and because I am a black pagan, I am a black woman.
Right.
And I understand that,
you get to be the star of the show, whether you want to be or not.
The star of the show. And he was like, so, this is your role. And I'm like, no. What do you mean? And he was like, yeah, but you said that you do this. And I was like, I don't do that.
I don't know you.
And
I don't know you. I don't know these people.
And literally he was like, well, I'll wear a condom. And I was just like, so you're going to be the horned god? And he was like, well, yeah. And I was like, what the fuck?
Shit. Okay, that is,
but, but I was fetishized immediately because I was a black woman in paganism.
I mean, absolutely,
what I'm saying?
yes. That's probably why they picked you. But I think that would have happened to any young woman.
And he told me, he says, what's closer to the Mother Earth than a black woman? And I'm like, I quit.
I'm out.
Like, I quit. But I get that. I get.
Do you know what though? There's like a male entitlement
in the pagan community,
right?
In West Virginia, I'm like a token. Like everybody wants to know me.
We talked about
everybody wants to be my friend, and not everybody. I say that with a joke because not every. There's some people that are like, hell no, because she's crazy. But a lot of people want to be my friend, or they want to be around me,
Right.
Because of my energy, because I'm an energy generator, but more so because I'm a Black woman in the pagan community.
Right.
And it's like, it just seems like some of these groups think that they get extra brownie points for being inclusive and having Black people
Yes.
in their
Honestly,
group.
you are correct on that one. Absolutely.
The one group,
I can tell you you're not, but you
right,
know, I
the
see
one
it.
group,
I also see it.
the one group that I go to repeatedly, the first time I went, I was terrified I was going to be the only Black person there. And I literally was that day.
Yeah.
The next time I went, because I did have fun, they welcomed me with open arms. And the person that took me was like, do it again. You know what I'm saying? Do it again. And so I went to another one. And, well, when I went to the first one, I reconnected with someone that I knew before. A young woman that I knew before. She's amazing.
Right.
So then when I went the next time, there was another Black person there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then the third time I went, there was 3 of us.
You want to do something funny? Do something funny, because I know who the other, we'll call her, what do we want to call her? Because I'm hoping she's watching this. So if you're watching
it
this,
would be nice.
But we'll call her.
One of them is a massage therapist, and we love her, and that's the one you're thinking of.
Because I don't think we think of her as being Black anymore.
Because she's just who she is.
She's in the community. She's just who she is. Another member of the community.
Right, and that's what I want to be.
And
you know what I'm saying? And I think that is what I am becoming.
Right.
But I also am very aware, and she is too.
Right.
Because we, you know what I'm saying? She is too. We are very aware when we walk into a place. My ADHD is, my pants leg was crooked.
Got to be very crispy to ride this. It must be this crispy to ride.
Right. But yeah, when she seen me, she was like, I'm really glad you're here. She's like, I was tired of being the only one here.
Right.
And neither one of us feels, and that too. And I know I'm sure she feels this way. I'm not going to speak for her and say she definitely does, but I'm sure, almost positive, that she also feels this way. Sometimes as a Black person, and you go into a white space, a white pagan space as a Black pagan. Right. You go into a white pagan space.
So also, this is a heathen space.
It is definitely heathen.
It's funny because they get a worse reputation, but it is.
Yes.
And it's not like the other communities are not as welcoming. It's just that the heathens have a more home-based structure.
Yes. It is. Okay, so with this one group that we're referring to,
they also got a lot more.
They are
straight white men.
Yes, they are a Nordic group, and I am not oath bound. I do believe that the other lady is.
Yeah. Well, oathed in.
Oathed in.
Because oath bound means you keep your mouth shut.
Right.
Oathed in means that you show up when it's time to move.
I believe
people.
She is oathed in.
Oathed in. Yeah, that means you're part of the kindred.
Yes.
You help make decisions.
Right. You're part of the group. Yeah. Okay. So I am not.
Right. Neither am I.
But
my husband is.
She is, besides just being amazing.
And we love her.
They have welcomed her and myself with open arms, with no hesitation, none of that. But again, okay, so a lot of times when we walk into a heathen space, a pagan space, the group tries to make us into them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Did you understand? You
yeah.
Okay.
No, I think I do understand because it happens to like all new people, but I can definitely see because you can see there's a hierarchy to like getting sucked in, because like every pretty girl gets some of this experience, but definitely I can see where being Black turns it up.
Yes. So I have walked into places that are Appalachian mountain magic places. Okay. And and you will hear us laugh and joke about people up on the mountain and coming off the mountain and stuff, because they do not come off the mountain. They don't come out the back of the holler.
Right.
But I have been up in some of these hollers. I've been on top of some of these mountains.
Right. Oh, Mauda.
And,
Mauda.
And I literally was in the back of a holler, and they did their best to convince me that I needed to act and sound and do like them.
They were trying to drag you into the cult, like they.
Yes.
Here's the thing.
And hold on, wait.
Fucking prize.
So when we say cult, we really have to be careful when we say that, because we're not saying that it is literally like
it's not necessarily.
It's not like Manson or anything like that. They're not out there in the in the hollers and on the mountains talking about drink the Kool-Aid type stuff.
Some of them are. Some of them are. I ain't gonna sit here and lie.
They're not out there talking about drink the Kool-Aid type stuff. They don't want to kill the group. They don't want to kill the group. Okay? They don't want to kill the group. They're not out here on some Jones type stuff, some Jonestown stuff. Kill the group. They're not out here on some Manson type stuff.
We will
kill
have a
everybody else.
Conversation about small covenants for another video, because
But they're still a cult. Okay.
Yeah, like there's the whole lot.
They're not to kill each other. They're not to kill everybody else or kill themselves type of
They're
people.
some of them are a bunch of polycules that they don't want to admit.
But
it's a series of sex scandals that drives off anybody who's not.
But they immediately want you to take up whatever it is that they're doing.
Because they want to put you on a shelf and show you off.
Yes, exactly.
No, that's exactly. I understand that feeling. I've had that situation before.
When we went to the Norse group, I was a little worried that they were going to try to convince me I needed to, talk to the Norse deities.
Right.
And, I've already spoken to some of the Norse deities. I've had those conversations and stuff. But they didn't try to force that. But that's what happens when Black people go into predominantly white.
No, I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about. Because I can see definitely where being Black turns that up to a fucking 11.
15, but keep
15,
going.
As a woman.
I love the way you said that.
As a woman. No, I'm just saying that I have definitely, I have had those kind of experiences where you are being used like a doll.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to be their doll.
Yes.
They want you to
be that doll behind that glass plate, glass
they
case,
want to show
and they want to pull you down and show. Yep.
Look at her.
Like you are fine china, and we only bring you out when company comes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
and I've definitely seen that
with all of that ranting and raving, Dottie does not allow me to be a token piece.
We had this conversation before we started.
Dottie
I was like,
does not.
Do you want to do this? Because this is what's going to happen. You have to.
Dottie helps me stand out front and center, which is what I want to do, which I've asked Dottie previously to help me do, and she does very well at that.
Chaos Conjure.
Absolutely. So I do stand out front. I do stand up front, and I will continue to be a face to whoever wants to hide behind me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just understand that if I'm going to be out there front with you, as the face of whatever it is that you guys have me out there doing, you better support me. You know what I'm saying? You better hold me up.
Stand next to me, don't hide behind.
Right. Stand next to me, push me up. If you're going to hide behind me, make sure that your feet are planted and you're pushing me up so that we can keep going forward, But, yeah.
We did have this conversation though, because because I was like, okay, if I'm going to put you on the podcast, because you talked
you
about
asked me,
wanting to be a face.
You said, are you ready? And I was just like, hell no, but this is what we're going to do anyway, because if I don't, and I said this, if I don't stand up for who I am and what I am and where I am, nobody else is going to stand up for me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Nobody else is going to stand up for me.
Nobody
else is going to know that there's a safe place out here.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And like, this is a relatively small corner of the world, but that kind of ice has to be constantly chipped away.
Absolutely.
Especially now.
Am I scared? Absolutely. Yeah. Am I scared as a pagan woman in the state of West Virginia? Yes. Just as a pagan woman. Right. In the state of West Virginia, with the way our politics are,
being out and proud of any kind.
Right. I am scared.
We're going to do an episode in June about like the cross section of queer pagans.
Right, and then being a Black pagan woman in the state of West Virginia is frightening as well. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I have learned that maybe I can't be outside in the yard, doing what I do outside in the yard. I shouldn't be anyway, not in public like that. But now I'm more comfortable going outside and getting dirt. You feel me?
Yeah.
I'm more comfortable going outside and getting dirt. I'm more comfortable putting my things outside.
Do you remember the time we went under the bridge
water.
and we had to pass the homeless encampment?
Yes.
And I'm like,
and then it was hilarious
I pet that dog. I pet that dog all the way to the river. She just followed me by.
I'm just like, la 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 la.
Here, just stay on this side. They ain't gonna hurt us.
And you know what's really funny? So we get back to the store, right? Because the store was open, and we get back to the store, and she leaves, and I'm in the store.
Whatever we're doing, something dumb and white.
I spent a lot of time in the store. I would sleep in the store because I'd be in there doing bracelets or whatever workings, whatever craft things I was doing.
There was a lot of weird shit going on. That was an intense bit of life.
Yes, and so when we got back to the store and after you had left and everything, and I was at the store and I was like, crap, I'm thirsty. And I was like, I'm gonna walk over to Go-Mart, right? Mm-hmm. So I close everything down and I walk over to Go-Mart, and as I'm coming back from Go-Mart, a couple of guys walk up on me, not like, oh my gosh, scare me or whatever, that they walk over to me and they're like, hey, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, why? And they're like, you remember us? And I've seen them around because, a lot of unhoused were close by. And so I'm sitting there and I'm laughing.
On the humanity of the unhoused community.
But I'm sitting there laughing because, we're chatting. And so one of them was like, I hate to ask, but do you have $1?
They don't hate to ask.
And no. So I'm looking at him because that's what I felt like, whatever. And he goes, no, seriously. And I looked at him and he's like, oh, so he moves his hat. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the guys that had been, one of them familiar with.
Yeah.
And he never asked me for anything. So when he was like, I hate to ask you, you know what I'm saying? I got that. And so I was just like, oh, wow. And he was like,
some of them work for every dollar.
Yes.
They ain't got a whole lot, but they
listen. So he's looking at me and he goes, are you going back to the store? And I'm like, yeah. Because, now I'm like, oh, shit, I know who you are.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, well, we're going to walk you back to the store. Mind you, Go-Mart was like 3 blocks away. And so I'm like, why? What's going on? And he goes, where's your friend at? And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, where's your friend? Is your friend in the store? And I'm thinking, oh, crap, he's not my friend anymore.
Right.
And I was like, why? And he goes, is she safe? And I was like, yeah, she's safe. And he goes, oh, okay. And we're still walking, and I'm thinking, crap, like the whole time.
Yeah.
And we get back to the store, and I'm not opening the door yet because, there's people right there. Spatial awareness, personal safety. And so he looks at me and he goes, the next time you guys want to walk down to the river to do whatever it is that y'all do at the river, let one of us know so we can escort you. And I'm like,
that is
what?
Really sweet.
And he's like, he told me, he said, we followed y'all back from the river. Remember, we kept turning around. And I was like, something's different. They followed us back from the river to the store, made sure we got back in the store safely.
Oh, we spotted them a few times.
Yeah. Watched her leave. Waited, because it was like 30 minutes after you left before I went to Go-Mart.
Right.
Waited to make sure, to see if I was leaving the store or not. And then when I left out the store and started walking to Go-Mart, they were like, this bitch is fucking crazy. And they followed me to Go-Mart. And as I'm coming out of Go-Mart, they're standing out there and they're just looking at me like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's the middle of the night and you're going to Go-Mart. And then they talked to me like underneath the lights and stuff at Go-Mart so I could really see who they were. And then they walked me back and he was just like, the next time, say something. And I was just sitting there like, it was my idea to go to the river. It was not your idea. So it wasn't like a stupid white people thing. It was my idea to go to the river.
I'd have totally taken that one on the nose.
But,
like, I don't care. It could have been. I wouldn't have remembered. You could have told me it was. I wouldn't have known.
It really reminded, and I meant to talk to you about that too. It really hit home that had you decided to walk to the river, you know what I'm saying? Night or day.
Yeah.
You could have walked to the river and you would have been okay. You know what I'm saying?
No,
not to say that I wouldn't have been okay. But he told me. Right. He says if he told me, he said they would have been less likely to attack you
because
you're a white woman.
Yeah.
Than they would have to attack me as a black woman. And he said that the only reason that they didn't speak because somebody was going to say something to us. Remember, they were over there whispering and talking.
Yeah.
And he said that one of them was going to come and be like, "What the fuck are y'all doing?" Mm-hmm. But he recognized me because my hair was out that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he recognized me, and he was like, He was like, "Don't go mess with her. She does things. Don't go mess with her." And they were like, "What?"
That's
and
how you get a reputation,
right? And he was like, "I don't know who the other one is." But if they're together and they're going to the water, then whatever it is that they did, you don't want no parts of it.
To be fair,
he was like, you don't want no parts of it. And like a few days later, because he told me, he was like, yeah, you're talking such as like, he said the guy's name. And so a few days later, because I used to give him water all the time.
Right.
And like, give him hot chocolate and stuff like that.
Right.
And so he came by with the guy. That was going to come and say something to us.
Right.
And so the guy was standing outside and I could see his face and he did not want to come in the store. And so when he finally came through the store, when he stepped through the bubble, he was like, "Oh, okay, I see why everybody comes over here and is nice to her." He's like, "I see why everybody takes care of her because I'm that shit." You know what I'm saying? I'm not out here fighting everybody. I'm not out here hexing people.
Unless they started.
My favorite thing to say to a person is have the day that you deserve.
Right.
Have the day that you deserve. Because get that. That's you. That's all you. All you. And I learned that from Black family members. You know what I'm saying?
Back when I was working in the nursing home, my favorite, whether it was a really good CNA or a really bad CNA or whoever it was, back when I was doing my job, like if I came across somebody who was doing a really good job or a really bad job, I'm like, I hope you get the care you give.
Yeah. 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 And saying that's something else too. A lot of nannies.
Right.
And a lot of Black caregivers, the older Black caregivers that were taking care of these little white families and things, and the white kid never got sick. But as soon as she was gone, the kid got sick or the family started falling apart or whatever.
Yeah.
Hoodoo.
Makes sense to me. Listen, a good cough remedy, especially back in the day when croup was taking people out, a good cough remedy saved lives. That's why we keep talking about and that's why it's one of the legendary recipes of old is everybody's granny. I would never call my grandmother granny. She did not appreciate that.
She was grandma. My grandmother was grandma.
Grandma, yeah. My great grandma on my Opa side. Everybody talks about the sorrel cough syrup, which is basically sour clover and whiskey. Right. Good old hot toddy does a lot for you. But when you can break up that congestion, Because you think about it, we have controlled air.
Mm-hmm.
We control not just the temperature, but the moisture content.
Yes. Yes.
You can get warm.
Yes.
You know, when you're exposed more to the elements day in, day out,
you don't get as sick.
Well, you don't get as sick regularly, but when you do, you don't have the things we take advantage of, the things we take for granted, like antibiotics.
Yes. They didn't have antibiotics. They,
you know, that's all World War II invention.
Yeah, I know that my great aunt, she was amazing. We're just gonna leave it at that. We're not gonna talk about the things she did and things I witnessed or what have you. She was amazing. But I remember, you know, being sick and the medicine not working, and my mom making some stuff in the kitchen. You know, my mom calling my grandmother, or calling my aunties and stuff, and making some stuff in the kitchen. I remember my mother walking down the street and snapping stuff, you know, what I thought were weeds and stuff like that.
Oh my God, if you ever get a chance, there's a content creator out there, and I can't remember her name to save my life right now, but she goes by the handle The Black Forager.
Yes, I know who that is. I watch her, I follow her.
Yeah, happy snacking, don't die.
Right. Right. But yeah, that is, yeah. And don't misunderstand, I love being fetishized, and I would love to take part in the Great Rite.
Not with a fucking stranger.
But not with a stranger.
Like, don't get me.
Not with a stranger. Not with a stranger.
I mean, look, if that's your thing.
But I want to get to a point where
most times when people do the Great Rites in front of people, they literally use a cup and a knife. You know, the chalice and the athame.
Absolutely.
Ding the side a little bit, you know, make sure you rub the stone on the front.
Yeah, I don't want to be fetishized. I don't want to be.
You just want to be part of the community.
Yes, and something too. So when I was saying that, you know, a lot of groups, you know, when they have a Black person go in, and it's one Black person or maybe two,
right?
And they try to change them, like pull them into the group,
right?
So they either try to assimilate them immediately, or they sometimes in the worst way, or they ostracize them. Yeah, because that happens too. I've done that too. Like sitting here talking to you and having fun and all that stuff.
I hate to admit it, like, I'm not saying that this is something that being Black probably, I can't say that it does or doesn't because I'm white, but I can see where it would elevate that experience.
Yeah.
But I also see from my perspective where that has straight up happened to me.
Yes. Oh yeah.
You know, like we all see this.
So this is the thing. So it happens to pretty much everyone, every race, every sex,
if you stand
all
out
of that
even
stuff.
the slightest bit,
right, you get ostracized.
And there's
it's
a whole
really
little video on like not cult structures, but coven structures.
Yes.
There's a reason why I refuse to
be a part of a coven.
Well, I've never oathed in. I have never. There are several reputable groups in the community that I would like to be a more. I am an active part of them, but I am not
a member.
Right. And part of that was because when I was like 16.
Oh yeah, you told me about the whole culty thing.
Yeah.
Whole different podcast. But so I've also been in spaces like I was saying.
Well, that wasn't the only time. That was just the time. You know what I mean?
But okay, going back to us going to the craft circle.
Right.
I did not feel ostracized. Okay, let me state that I did not feel ostracized.
They came up to, and then they were kind of. I told you before they're going to stay.
You did
dumb white shit.
You did. In the first 10 minutes or so, nobody wanted to speak to me.
They're all waiting for somebody to start the conversation.
They were all waiting for someone else to start the conversation. The parts of the crafting things that I took some Nazar beads.
Right.
And some other beads as well. but I took like mainly Nazar beads.
Right.
Nobody, I think out of those 30 other people,
Right.
I think only like maybe 10 used them. We used them, like our little group did. But out of the other 30 people that was not, the group we went with, I think only 10 people took a bead.
I don't like, here's the thing. We say that like the pagan community is not like the rest of the general community. There's a lot of introverts in it.
That's true. But it's also a lot like the rest of the community.
Right.
Because they, with some of the things that we do, some of the things that I do, I've had people ask me to make a voodoo doll for them.
Oh, God damn it.
And I'm like, oh, you need a poppet. And they're like, no, but you're black, it's a voodoo doll. And I'm like, no, it's still a poppet.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I've had people.
Well, on the behalf of the dumb white bitches, I am sorry.
So one of the things that I do is I make, I use beads and things to make my little people, my little guardians.
I think we got one that he hangs over our bedroom door.
And so I need to make some more, but I have these little guardians. And
didn't your grandson name one of them?
Yes, well, he didn't name it. He took it. Yes, he did name it. He did name it.
He's like,
and he carried it around with him, and it's hidden in their room now because I'm scared to take him back because my grandson was like, it's mine, and he talked to him all the time. But
apparently that's your grandson's guardian, right?
One of many. But I made these guardians, and I think they're adorable. The power they give off can be not as adorable, but they're guardians.
Guardians kind of have to have a rough edge.
Right. So, but they're guardians. And so I had them like all around the store and stuff, and they did their job. And I had somebody come in and they were like, oh my gosh, what is that? It's so cute. And I was just like, yeah, okay, whatever. And they immediately wanted to know if it was voodoo or, and I'm like.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, they're making their own poppets.
Right. And so.
It's like corn dogs.
It's like, sometimes it just seems like it's one extreme or the other, where I see a group and, I meet people and they're like, oh, do what we do. We follow Hecate. That's the one that gets me the most. I have nothing against Hecate.
I'm a follower of Hecate.
Right,
I understand.
I have nothing against Hecate.
There are a lot of people that follow her that we never talk to her.
But Hecate and I, even though we've had conversations, Hecate is not I'm not her person. And we both understand that. But people are real quick to say, oh, you follow Hecate. And I'm like, no, I participate in Heka. Heka is the Egyptian word, the Kemetic word for magic. And it's Heka, Heka. And it's magic. It's Kemetic magic, Egyptian magic.
Oh my God, I want to do my homework before we do this video, but there's like a whole Greek, because of the Greeks and the Egyptians had a big cultural exchange in that time. So there's a lot of shifting of words
and truthfully,
and gods.
there is the possibility that Hecate gets her name from Heka.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There is that possibility. We'll have to research that and figure it out. But as soon as
the
I
connection
say,
between Thoth and Hermes.
Yes. As soon as I say, oh yeah, something Heka,
everybody thinks you're thinking of Hecate.
People will immediately tell me I am saying it wrong and that it is Hecate. And I'm like, no, it's not. And so then that starts an argument.
Because that's not even one of the traditional translations. It's like Hecate or Hecate.
Right. And so then I'm told that I'm wrong and what I'm doing is wrong, which is bullshit.
Yeah. Like they fucking know. Like they know. I'm sorry. I don't know. We're going to have to put an adult warning.
Right. So they either try to change what it is that I do so that to fit something that they understand better, or they assume that I I don't know if this is because I don't have the cognitive ability or whatever it is, but they just ostracize me and don't include me. Like I can't understand what it is that they're doing. And these are not closed practices. These are not closed practices.
And I definitely want to have a conversation. Like this could be a whole episode in and of itself, is that holier than thou attitude. That
we eat our young.
Dominant in certain aspects. Like, yeah.
Pagans and heathens will eat our young.
Oh my God. Like,
and they do, the hoodoo is the same way. Hoodoo is the same way because
that's not how I do it. That's not how it's done.
Right.
Well, why is that not how it's done? See, this is why I'm a chaot. I believe that, fine, if that works for you, then that's how you do it.
Right. I'm telling you, my mother and two of my aunts, I don't know if my other aunt baked cakes or not. I don't know. I don't have any recollection of her baking a cake. But my mother and my favorite aunt, and then my other aunt, who are all gone now, all had the same recipe for a pound cake. Same exact recipe for a pound cake. Kid you not. Same recipe.
Thinking about that lady on the internet with the granny. I want to show you how to make a pound cake. But same exact recipe for a pound cake that they got from my grandmother. Right.
Okay, from their mother. None of them tasted the same.
You know
what I'm saying? None of them tasted the same. And I literally, shit you not, watched my grandmother make this cake when I was younger. Watched her make this cake. Delicious.
Right.
Okay. Literally went home, watched my mother make the same exact cake. Delicious, but it tasted different. I've been in the room and watched both of them make cakes at the same time. Same thing. Sifting the flour, the whole nine.
Right.
Helping each other sift the flour. I'm helping sift the flour. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It tasted different. Each one, they were delicious, but they both tasted different.
That's weird. That's interesting. I realize how uncomfortable I am talking about race. Because we have, and there's so much of it that I'm like, there's somebody watching us talk.
Mm-hmm.
There are going to be people hearing us talk. And I have to defend myself.
But you don't. That's the thing. Okay, so what I said before the camera was rolling, okay? Because you were like, oh my gosh, I was on the mountain, I was racist. You were not. Yes, you were on the mountain, but you were not a racist.
Right.
Okay? You were not a racist. You are not a racist.
I'm definitely not a racist. I would say
but you
racy. Like we know that there's levels to that shit.
This is the thing. There are, but there aren't, truthfully. From our view, from my side. And you say I'm not anymore. You were not ever.
There was a point in my time where I probably would have been disrespectful.
But this is the thing, okay? It goes back to until you know better.
Right.
When you learn better and you know better, you do better.
Right.
So, like I said, if you grow up speaking Spanish, and if you are around a bunch of people and all they do is speak Spanish, you're going to grow up speaking Spanish. That's all you're going to speak. That's all you're going to understand. Okay? The minute you get somewhere and they're speaking French, you have to take some time to learn how to speak French. You have the option to learn to speak French,
right,
or not.
I will say that
you can always go back to speaking Spanish. You feel me? You don't have to learn something new. You only spoke this. This is all you knew.
Right.
When you came off of that mountain,
the first time you started speaking this new language, it's difficult.
Holy shit. You were like, holy shit.
Right.
I don't know what the fuck this is. And yeah, you fucked up.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But you didn't fuck up because you were trying to be mean. You didn't fuck up because you thought you were better. You fucked up because you didn't know any better.
I really didn't. I really didn't. Because like,
and
was
so
not saying that.
I laugh, and sometimes I cringe. Actually, I probably cringe more than laugh when you say things and you're like, "Yep, that's fucked up. That was some stupid white people shit," or stuff like that. Because it's not necessarily stupid white people shit. Petting the dog is stupid white people shit.
I will pet that dog. I know I will pet that dog.
But you are learning, and I see that. Like, I don't feel any malice or anything like that from you.
Right. I mean, I appreciate that you're comfortable because you're my friend, but you have more of me. You know me, like, you know more than, because I'm some mouthy bitch. I know who I am.
Yeah.
But the internet sees this moment of unsurety.
Yes. And those are the times that I will stand right beside of you to let you know that you're not by yourself. I'll stand behind you and put my back to your back so that you know that you're not going down.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You are learning. And the fact that you are taking the time out to learn means a whole hell of a lot more than what you think it does.
I hope so, because I feel like an ass.
You have asked me questions about being a Black woman, about my hair, about my skin, about the things that I do, the things I won't do, things like that.
Right.
But you never come off as, oh, why do you do that? Or anything like that. It's, oh my gosh, you don't do that? Why do you not do that?
I know we saw the ashy elbows thing this earlier today. Like, do I have ashy elbows?
That point right there, because I was like, yeah, I can't do this. I gotta put lotion on my elbows. I refuse to be on camera with ashy elbows.
Check my elbows right
she was like, you care about ashy elbows? And I'm like, yeah.
I don't think that.
And then she's
white
like,
people get ashy elbows.
Right. Because you was like, why do you care? And then I was like, because I'm not getting on camera with ashy elbows. And then she looks at me with total vulnerability is the only word I can say, with this genuine, I have a question. I need an answer.
Right through the floor right now.
And,
no, this is going in the
says,
fucking video. I don't care.
And that's fine. And she says,
my ashy elbows are all.
Yeah, your elbows aren't ashy because you put lotion on them. And she goes,
my elbows are hairy.
She goes, do white people get ashy elbows? And I said, yeah, ashy elbows is dry skin. And she's like, oh. Like, nobody explained to her that when you're ashy, it's because your skin is dry.
Because it doesn't change color.
Because
I'm already that color.
But it was so wholesome when she was asking this, and I'm so sorry. I don't mean to.
No, fuck it, put it in there. I don't care.
But she was so wholesome with her question, and we went on to have a conversation about your elbows and your knees and the whole nine. Right. But you never come at me with the questions, or some of the questions have been bullshit ass questions. But they come from a place of, I would really like to know because I'm curious, not because I want to know how so that I can use it against you, or I want to know so that I can, appropriate your shit, you know what I'm saying? So I can steal your shit or whatever. It's always been, hey, I have a question. Can I have an answer?
Right.
And when I showed you guys that one thing, right, in the bathroom that day, that sounds so bad. That sounded so
I have no idea what you're
bad.
talking about. The one thing in the bathroom.
When we thought that Aaron was going to cough out a lung.
At
the store.
Oh, okay, yeah. Close practice. It's not.
It was
not like a worm in the underwear or some shit. It was
right. And this is the thing. So it's not so much a closed practice.
Let's say it was like a cleansing, and it
was a cleansing. Yes,
there we go.
It was a
air-based cleansing.
And so it's all over the internet. I've seen it all on the internet, especially after I showed you what it was.
Right.
But it was taught to me as a closed practice. And I didn't share it with you like, oh, I got a secret.
Right.
Dottie came to me and she said, something's not right.
We were doing, yeah.
And so we had done a cleansing
Do a whole fucking episode on witch wars. Like,
we had done a cleansing, and
ridiculous.
Everybody felt better. I felt fine. Dottie felt fine. But Aaron, Dottie's husband, still felt ick. And so we were sitting there trying to figure out what else we could do that we hadn't done already to get rid of this ick. And, Dottie I was like, well, I need to go wash my hands. And Dottie's like, oh, so I go in there and I did what I did.
Right.
And I coughed a little bit, and Dottie was like, hey, are you okay? And I was like, you know what? Come here. Let me show. Look, come here and do this. And there was no explanation for what it was, why it was, or anything. It was just do this. Let's wash your hands. And
you know what? That's a good analogy for it. We'll just call it hand washing.
Yeah, we washed hands. And so Dottie coughed a little bit, and when she was done, she was like,
I thought it was kind of cute.
She was like, I didn't die, and I feel great.
By the time I was done coughing,
right. And so, we both turned and we looked at Aaron and we were like, come on, it's your turn. And Aaron looked at us, was like, no.
Pale.
He was like, you guys are some crazy bitches and I'm not about to do this.
Oh, but he did though.
And and Dottie just looked at him, and he looked at Dottie and he was like, I love you. She's like, I love you too. And he's like, all right, let's do this.
Right. And he was like a man on his way to his own, walking up them gallows. He knew. He looked more resigned than my dog does when I take him to get a bath.
And but he did it, and it helped.
God,
when it was done and over, he did. He vomited, and you could see what came out. You know what I'm saying?
Like this green slime.
But so Dottie's never come to me with. And I laugh, and she calls them bullshit questions because she's like, I probably really shouldn't be asking you this because you're probably not going to tell me.
Look at the fucking camera right now. I'm not going to lie.
But I've answered as many of her questions as I can, and if it's something that I can't answer, then I'm always like, yeah, no, I can't talk to you about that. But
which is usually that's usually like oath-bound closed practice things that like we started a conversation and you're explaining a story and you give out the first bit and I'm like, what's next?
And I'm like,
nope, sorry,
I can't go that far. And I feel bad for doing that. But I mean, you've done it to me too. It's something that goes back and forth.
Well, no, okay, so nothing I really practice is technical. This is like kind of on purpose that most of what I've practiced, I haven't entirely gotten out of books. It's been a lot of personal meditation.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it has been a lot of things that are open source.
Yes.
And part of that goes back to that experience with the coven and also what I've learned about cults and the sacred knowledge. Like, you've got that one person who's got they're the only way to God. I'm like,
a lot of the things that I have learned, a lot of the things that I have worked through with my practice is it comes from my ancestors.
Right.
It comes from my ancestors. It comes from my connection to Heka and some hoodoos, sprinkled
you pick it up. It's a living a life.
I'm very eclectic in what I do. And I like to refer to myself, if you ask me what it is, like specifically to do specifics.
West Virginia Black Paganism.
Absolutely. But I say that I am eclectic hoodoo. I am eclectic hoodoo if I have to name.
Right, like if I have to give you a title. You know what?
And I catch hell for that because a lot of people.
That's why I just say pagan.
Right, but I'm saying a lot of people, I've had some people who also practice hoodoo a little differently, tell me that I can't practice hoodoo and still deal with the deities because a lot of hoodoo comes out of the Bible.
That's true.
So
and a lot of mountain magic does too. Like the verses to stop blood, the verses to turn the
Book of Psalms.
Book of Psalms
and
Psalms. Psalms and the Palms. There's Psalms.
Yeah.
I've always heard it called Palms.
Yeah. But so
pagan. I don't know. I don't read the Bible.
Facts. But yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh yeah, but if you're following God, and I'm like, I get where you're coming from, you know?
Right.
And when I tell people I don't do organized religions, they assume that I'm saying I don't believe in a God.
Yeah.
That I don't believe in the God.
Yeah.
I believe in the creator. And you'll hear me say the creator, source, the only. Because I'm real big on the only. And then people are like, what do you mean? No, there's more than one. I mean the only, the one. You know what I'm saying? The one. And that one for you,
right,
the only for you, the highest of the highest for you, could be named God, could be named Allah, could be named Buddha, could be named whatever it is,
right,
that works for you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But for me, it's the only, it's the source, it's the one, it's the creator.
And for me, it's the chaos. Like,
you know what I'm saying? And there you have it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Hecka.
There is only chaos and void. The chaos ever reaching into the void. Its only purpose is to fill the void. Yeah, okay, I should probably not be rattling that shit off.
Right. But you can edit that part. But you know what I'm saying? But that's what it is. And
you know what though? That's a great
lot
example
of people get upset with me because I don't follow what they perceive I should.
Right.
And I have more acceptance in the pagan community than I do in the Black community for the most part. Just not even Black pagans, just the Black community itself. You know, as soon as they
Right.
find out that I work with crystals, they're like, oh my gosh.
Is you doing that white shit?
Honey, it has to be.
I was there when you told me these stories about somebody saying something to you. I'm like, were they every time you do, I'm like, were they white? Because I'm ready.
No, they're not.
Because I was ready to go fight them if they were.
And it's
I'm like, I
hilarious
can't
to
do
me
anything
how,
about if it's somebody.
Right, it's hilarious to me how I've done craft work for Black people.
Right.
I had someone come in and ask for something to be done, to be disconnected from someone else.
Right. A lot of cord cuttings. Everybody wants a cord cutting.
Okay, so they asked for a cord cutting, and I was like, are you sure this is what you want? Because, if you don't really want it, and you go back,
work.
Right, it's not going to work, and then you go back, and then the tie is tighter. It's like it goes from being a cord to like a rope to a chain to an anchor.
I see hooks.
Well, yeah, however you want to call it, but you know what I'm saying. But whatever it is, that thin thread goes. It gets thicker each time, and I was like, yeah, I can do this, yada yada yada, and so I did it, and I told them you can't have any contact with this person.
Yeah,
like it's not you can't have contact with this person, and they immediately, when they felt the tether break, when they felt it snap, they didn't wait a week before they went running back to this, like seeing the person, and they were like, that's why I had a cord cutting done and worked da 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 da, and told them what happened in the whole nine. And I'm talking about this, mind you, I don't normally talk about the things that I do. I'm talking about this because they fucked it up. And if they were here, they would tell you they fucked it up. And now they're right back together in a worse position than what they were in. And
sounds like a vampire
me, if y'all seen my shirt the last episode, y'all might not have been able to read it. My shirt says, pray for me because I'm petty. Okay? And I am. And I know people are like, oh no, love and light, love and light. Yeah. Love and light until the light gets cut off. Okay, love and light till the power's out. But
fair enough. Fair enough.
But yeah, so they come back to me and they're like, "Oh no, help me!" And I'm like, "No, I took the time out of my time to help you, and you fucked it up,
Right.
And so I catch shit for that. I don't know how they do it in the white community, but if I do something for you, if I make you a bracelet, if I make you a necklace, if I wrap you a ring, if I make you a pendant, if I do craft work for you,
Right.
okay, to help you stop something,
Right.
and when it works, because it works, and you feel like, oh, it's done, it worked, I can go back to my old habits. I'm not fixing you again. I'm not doing it again.
Right. No, you know what?
I'm not, because I'm petty.
Because I've heard, it's funny because if you notice, this is something I have noticed that, because I've had my ex-girlfriend straight up look me in the face and said that you don't sell magic.
Right.
Like she had a real problem with me being a professional psychic because you don't sell your gift.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a lot of that in the community where I can sell you the materials. I can tell you how to do this. But I can't do magic for you.
So with hoodoo is a lot about healing.
Right. Well, not for money. You can't do it for money.
Well, that's the thing. Hoodoo is a lot about healing.
Right.
And even though I'm pretty sure, like my great auntie, I don't know if she took money or not. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not judging her. I'm just saying that is an idea that is in the community. Yeah.
But I need to be compensated for what I do. I'm not gonna lie. I need to be compensated for what I do.
Right. It takes time and energy.
Just because I'm an energy generator doesn't mean that I have energy to just waste or to use for someone else.
Right.
I'm a firm believer that I need to be compensated for what it is that I do. And it doesn't mean that I'm like, oh, you have to pay me right now, or whatever. Sometimes compensation is literally just a thank you for helping or whatever. But the materials cost.
Okay, so how do we want to end this?
Oh yeah, my tagline.
I'm probably going to be like, I pet that dog. It's probably going to be my fucking tagline now. Pet that dog.
So yeah, my tagline is stay wild, stay wise, and let the magic lead you home.
I pet that dog.
This is what happens, right? We chose to do this. It was not spur of the moment, but it was spur of the moment. And this is what you are witnessing is truly chaos conjure.
Right. We have actually worked on this because you had brought up wanting to be on because I was like, I wanted to have you on the show when you had the shop, and then we just didn't pull together.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's
and
not
then you were like,
of the moment.
Yeah. And then you were like, I still want to be on your show because you got a story to tell, like to champion for the Black pagan community.
Yes, because we're here. We're here. We are in the state of West Virginia. We are in the state of West Virginia, and the majority of us are practicing solo.
And deep in the closet.
Because we have been indoctrinated by Christianity to the point where if we're not Christian, we're wrong. And even if we don't go to church or what have you, we still feel like we're betraying our families and even ourselves in some cases. I've watched I literally have had people come in the store and be crushed because they were
there.
And hiding. I've literally had people come in the store and I've shut my curtains down so the people wouldn't see them in my store, so that they could shop in peace. I've opened up on Mondays because I wasn't open on Mondays. I've opened up on Mondays so that they could come in and shop in peace, so nobody else would see them in the store. Mm-hmm. But then when it comes time for me to say something and to be open, or you know what I'm saying? Yeah. They don't want to be out in the open because they're scared. Bless their hearts. Bless their hearts. But that being said, let's end this for real.
Okay.
Stay wild, stay wise. Let the magic lead you home.
Safe travel and much profit to you. I pet that dog.
This is Jay.
This is Dottie.
Thanks for watching Chaos Conjure.
Now empty out your sippy cup.
And pack away your wands.
Make it home before the moon rises.
And watch out for the knot, dear.